High in the mountains, across desert ridges, and even carved beneath the ground, Tunisia hides entire Berber settlements that time has quietly erased. They were built to endure raids, droughts, and isolation, yet in the end, each was abandoned. What happened to them? Let's uncover 10 of the most haunting Amazigh, also known as Berber, cities left behind. Number 10. Zriba Olia. Perched between two rugged peaks, Zriba Olia commands a breathtaking view of Jebel Zagouan, Tunisia's second highest mountain. The village once bustled with life, its stone houses pressed tightly together along steep, winding lanes. Families drew fresh water from nearby springs, and their homes seemed to grow straight from the rocky slope. For generations, Zriba Olia was secure and self-sufficient. But in the 1960s, a modern town was built in the plains below, with paved roads, electricity, and schools. Slowly, families moved down from the mountain, trading tradition for convenience. What remains today is a maze of courtyards and roofless walls, where the wind slips through abandoned doorways. The view is still magnificent, but the silence tells of a village that chose survival on easier ground over the challenges of the peaks. Number 9. Douiret. On a ridge outside Tataouine, Douiret stretches down the mountainside like a staircase of stone. At its crown stood the Ksar, a fortified granary where grain was stored in stacked gorfas, arched chambers that could rise several stories high. Families built their homes around it, each terrace giving them a view across the desert. For centuries, Douiret was both a fortress and a home, its high perch protecting against raiders while its granary guarded food reserves. But what once provided safety eventually became a hardship. Reaching schools, jobs, and modern services in the valleys grew difficult, and by the mid-20th century, most families had left. Today, Douiret's ruins tumble down the ridge, its Ksar still standing like a stone sentinel. The village shows how Amazigh ingenuity carved survival from the mountain, only for time to trade security for accessibility. Number 8. Takrouna. Takrouna rises dramatically from a rocky outcrop in the Enfida region, its houses stacked in spirals toward the summit. The village's story stretches back centuries with Amazigh roots, later joined by Andalusian refugees who fled Spain in the 1600s. Together, they built a community where narrow lanes climbed between stone homes, and from the top, views stretched over endless olive groves to the shimmering Mediterranean. For generations, Takrouna thrived on this hilltop. But steep climbs, scarce resources, and modern opportunities elsewhere eventually pulled its families to the plains. Now, only a handful of residents remain. The old stone paths lead through houses half crumbled, half preserved, offering a layered glimpse into Tunisia's blended Amazigh-Andalusian past. Takrouna endures as both a lookout over the plains and a reminder of how communities once clung to the high ground. Number 7. Guermassa. South of Tataouine, Guermassa crowns a jagged ridge, its stone ruins etched sharply against the desert sky. Founded in the 12th century, it became famous for its troglodytic homes, cave-like dwellings carved directly into the rock. These homes, cool in summer and insulated in winter, gave families a natural refuge in a harsh environment. At its center, a Ksar stored the community's grain, while narrow paths wound up and down the ridge like veins of stone. Guermassa thrived as both village and fortress, guarding trade routes and protecting its people from raids. But like so many mountain settlements, isolation eventually drove residents away. With modern towns offering roads, schools, and easier access to resources, the ridge emptied. In the present world, the caves and towers of Guermassa still cling to the mountain, casting long shadows at sunset, the bones of a community carved into stone but abandoned to time. Number 6. Chenini. High on a ridge near Tataouine, Chenini looks as if it grew from the rock itself. Whitewashed houses cling to the slopes, with a mosque shining at its heart. Founded in the 12th century, Chenini became a vital stop for caravans crossing between the Sahara and the coast. Merchants rested here, storing goods in the Ksar above, a fortified granary lined with ghorfas that formed a honeycomb of storage chambers. For centuries, trade and tradition kept Chenini alive. But as modern roads bypassed the ridge and new homes were built in the plains, families began to drift away. The old village slowly crumbled, though a small community still lives among the ruins. But at this moment, Chenini feels half alive, half abandoned, a rare place where echoes of Amazigh history still blend with present-day life. Number 5. Ksar Ouled Soltane. Rising in southern Tunisia, Ksar Ouled Soltane is a masterpiece of Amazigh design. Built in the 15th century, it could reach 4 stories high, with rows of ghorfas stacked around courtyards like a giant honeycomb. Each chamber stored grain, protected by palm wood doors and thick stone walls. This Ksar wasn't just functional. Its walls once carried geometric Amazigh symbols, blending art with survival. For centuries, it safeguarded harvests against drought and theft. But as modern homes and silos replaced traditional storage, the Ksar was left behind. Renovations preserved its shape, and Hollywood even used it as a set for Star Wars. Yet, outside the preserved courtyards, the surrounding settlement lies abandoned. Ksar Ouled Soltane now stands as both a film landmark and a silent monument to Amazigh ingenuity, once essential to survival, admired in ruin. Number 4. Ksar Haddada. Near Guermassa, Ksar Haddada once served as a lifeline for Berber families. Its vaulted ghorfas stored grain in tight clusters, the entire Ksar acting as a fortress of food security. Though smaller than other Ksar, it was no less vital, offering protection in times of scarcity. Over time, however, Haddada was abandoned, its chambers left to crumble. In recent decades, it gained unexpected fame as another Star Wars filming location, transforming briefly into a galaxy far, far away. Parts of it were renovated into a hotel, giving travelers a chance to sleep in what were once storage vaults. The contrast is striking: polished guest rooms on one side, untouched ruins on the other. Ksar Haddada no longer guards grain, but it still tells the story of Amazigh resilience, a fortress turned relic, and now a stage for both history and imagination. Number 3. Ksar Beni Barka. Perched on a hilltop near Tataouine, Ksar Beni Barka commands sweeping views across the desert. Its design reflected both necessity and strategy. An inner circle of ghorfas held the grain, while an outer ring housed dwellings and defenses. Thick walls and a massive palm wood gate kept unwanted visitors out. For centuries, villagers looked down from this vantage point, spotting travelers or threats long before they arrived. The Ksar served as both home and fortress, a symbol of survival in the desert. But the climb that once gave safety eventually became a burden. Families moved to easier ground, where modern life offered access without hardship. The ruins of Beni Barka still crown the hill, a reminder of Amazigh foresight communities built above the world, only to leave it behind. Number 2. Matmata. Beneath the surface of the earth lies Matmata, one of Tunisia's most extraordinary Berber settlements. Families here lived in troglodyte homes, sunken courtyards dug deep into the ground, with rooms carved into the walls like caves. This design was ingenious, keeping homes cool under the blazing sun and warm during desert nights. Matmata was a hidden world, connected by underground passageways where daily life unfolded away from the elements. For centuries, it worked perfectly, but in the 1960s, Catastrophic floods destroyed parts of the village, and many families were forced to relocate to a new, modern Matmata nearby. Some troglodyte homes are preserved for tourism, while most lie abandoned. Walking through them feels like entering another world, a community that once thrived underground, now left largely to silence. Number 1. Tamerza. Near the Algerian border, Tamerza was once the largest mountain oasis in Tunisia. Known as Tamerza el Grima, or Old Tamerza, it was built along dramatic cliffs with waterfalls and palm groves nearby. Its stone houses lined narrow alleys cooled by desert breezes, making it a rare paradise in an unforgiving region. For centuries, the oasis village thrived. But in 1969, disaster struck. Torrential floods swept through, destroying homes and forcing the entire community to flee almost overnight. A new Tamerza was built nearby, but the old one was never reoccupied. Today, its ruins cling to the cliffs above the still lush oasis. The sound of water flowing below contrasts with the silence of empty streets above, a haunting reminder of how nature can erase even the most enduring of human settlements. From mountain ridges to underground homes, each of these abandoned Berber settlements tells the story of how people adapted, survived, and eventually moved on. Some were lost to floods, others to isolation, and others simply to time. What remains is more than ruins. It's a living memory of Amazigh resilience. And while these villages no longer echo with voices, they still whisper history to anyone willing to listen.